So this is where we are, not with a championship parade or a record-breaking performance, but with silence, empty arenas, falling ticket prices, and a league in freefall. Caitlin Clark, the superstar who dragged the WNBA from irrelevance into the national spotlight, is sidelined again. But it's not just her groin that's strained, it's the entire structure of the league. One player steps off the court, and it all collapses like a house of cards. This isn't just a sports story, it's an economic earthquake. And the aftershocks? They're only beginning. Let's start with the brutal numbers. When Clark missed 5 games earlier this season, the WNBA's viewership plummeted over 50%. Not just Fever games, the entire league. Now that she's out again with a groin injury, the panic has turned to pure chaos. TV ratings have collapsed by another 55%. Ticket prices have nosedived. Merchandise sales are crawling. And fans? They're not just disappointed, they're furious. Veteran journalist Christine Brennan put it best. One player gets injured and half the audience vanishes. It's not hyperbole, it's fact. Clark had become more than an athlete. She's the engine, the brand, the lifeline. Without her, the WNBA is on life support. Imagine the NFL losing Patrick Mahomes and 60% of its audience walking away. That's the scale we're talking about. And yet, league officials are acting like this is just another minor setback. Clark's injuries weren't some freak accident. She's been targeted relentlessly since her first game. From hard fouls to media attacks, the league failed to protect her. And now they're paying the price. Because when you let the golden goose get roughed up every night without consequences, don't be shocked when the eggs stop coming. The league had a generational talent in its hands, and instead of elevating her, they threw her into the fire. The last time Clark played, Indiana Fever games averaged 1.81 million viewers. Without her, that number dropped to 847,000. That's not a small dip. That's a total collapse. And it proves one undeniable truth. Caitlin Clark is a WNBA, period. She's the reason people watch. She's the reason arenas sell out. She's the reason corporate sponsors are cutting checks. And now that she's out, the panic in the front offices is deafening. But let's not pretend this wasn't avoidable. The warning signs were there. Her first injury came from a left quad strain. Then, instead of easing her back, the team pushed her into high minutes. Now, she's out with a groin injury, likely a compensation injury. Experts warned this exact scenario could happen, and yet no precautions were taken. Why? Because short-term profits were put over long-term sustainability. And now, everyone's paying for it. What's worse is that fans aren't just leaving, they're boycotting. Social media is ablaze with Fever fans and Clark supporters refusing to watch other WNBA teams. Why? Because of how the league has treated her. They've allowed constant targeting. They've enabled media smear campaigns. They've stayed silent while the biggest draw in the league gets hacked, shoved, and bruised on national television. And the fans? They've had enough. This isn't just about one player. It's about credibility, about trust, about whether fans believe the WNBA values competitive integrity. Because right now, the perception is clear. They don't. When a rookie like Clark is responsible for over 50% of your national audience, you protect her like your season depends on it. Because it does. And the longer the league pretends otherwise, the deeper the hole they're digging. Christine Brennan's upcoming book, On Her Game, is already stirring buzz. It promises to expose the league's failures in handling Clark's rise. Brennan's criticism is scathing, and it's not hard to see why. The data is public, the ratings are measurable, and the consequences are real. Clark gets injured, the audience leaves, and the sponsors panic. It's a vicious cycle, and one the WNBA refuses to break. Of the 30 flagrant fouls issued this season, 5 were committed against Caitlin Clark. 5. Nearly all of them came from the same team, the Chicago Sky. What's the league's response? Vague statements about basketball plays and letting the players play. No suspensions, no league-wide warnings. Just more bruises for Clark and more ammunition for critics who say the WNBA doesn't know how to handle success. And the result? Total economic devastation. Ticket prices for Clark's games have plummeted by over 70%. Games that once sold for $860 now go for as low as $250. The highly anticipated rematch between the Fever and the Sky, a game that drew over 2.2 million viewers last time, now struggles to move tickets at $95. That's not just bad business, that's a market collapse. And it's not just ticket prices and TV ratings feeling the impact, it's the ripple effect touching every corner of the league's ecosystem. Merchandising is crashing. Sponsors are pulling back. Even local economies in cities where Clark was scheduled to play are seeing dips in revenue. Hotels, restaurants, ride shares, they were all benefiting from the Caitlin Clark effect. Now, it's like someone pulled the plug. The foot traffic is gone. The excitement is gone. The WNBA didn't just lose a player, it lost its heartbeat. Road games that once needed larger arenas just to accommodate the flood of fans are now barely selling standard seating. The demand that made teams like the New York Liberty, Chicago Sky, and Los Angeles Sparks restructure their venues for Clark's arrival has evaporated. It's like flipping a switch. When she's not playing, the lights go out, literally and figuratively. This isn't sustainable, not even close. And yet, somehow, the WNBA leadership keeps clinging to the idea that this is just a phase, that if they keep pushing forward with the same tone-deaf strategies, things will balance out. But that's not how this works. This isn't an ebb and flow. This is a crash, a preventable disaster spiraling further out of control. Each day Clark remains off the court. And unless there's a fundamental shift, one that starts with actually valuing the player who made this growth possible, there may not be a comeback. Let's put it bluntly. Without Caitlin Clark, the WNBA is teetering on the edge of a cliff. The pre-Clark era was marked by half-empty arenas, modest sponsorships, and ratings that barely registered. It was the same recycled narrative year after year. Growth is coming, but when Clark showed up, growth didn't just come, it exploded. Suddenly, the league was a household name. Suddenly, ESPN cared. Suddenly, corporate America wanted in. But now, with Clark injured and the league refusing to evolve, all that momentum is bleeding out. And what do the players say? Many have remained silent, some out of professionalism, others out of jealousy. But silence is complicity. When your most valuable player is consistently targeted and nobody inside the locker room, the league office, or the analyst desk calls it out, it sends a clear message. We'll ride the wave, but we won't defend the tide that brought it in. That kind of attitude isn't just toxic, it's suicidal. It's not just the league failing Clark, it's the culture around it, the double standards, the narrative manipulation. Clark is criticized for drawing fouls, for playing too aggressively, for not responding enough. Meanwhile, her aggressors are labeled as playing hard. It's exhausting to watch. And the fans? They're not stupid. They see the hypocrisy. They see the favoritism. And they're responding the only way they know how, by turning the TV off. Let's talk numbers again. The WNBA was projected to lose nearly $50 million this year, even with Clark on the court. Without her, that projection is already outdated. The losses are piling up quicker than anyone expected. Attendance has reverted to pre-2023 levels. Merchandise sales have slowed dramatically, and social media engagement, the metric the league loves to flaunt, has dipped considerably since Clark's absence. The most tragic part? This didn't have to happen. With proper planning, player safety protocols, and a strategy built around growing the league, not tearing down its stars, this could have been the start of a new golden era. Instead, it feels like the end of a failed experiment, a moment of opportunity sacrificed at the altar of ego, politics, and outdated ideals. Caitlin Clark didn't just bring attention, she brought legitimacy, and the league squandered it. And now, the media storm is growing. Journalists, analysts, former players, they're beginning to speak up. Christine Brennan's book isn't just a tell-all, it's a warning, a call to action. But is anyone in power listening? Or are they still hiding behind sound bites and press releases, hoping this storm passes before they're held accountable? Spoiler, it won't, because this time the world is watching. And unlike before, the spotlight isn't flattering, it's interrogating. Ask yourself, what's the plan? What's the WNBA's contingency if Clark is out for another month? Or worse, if she suffers a long-term injury? There doesn't seem to be one. There's no next star on deck, no media campaign in place, no roadmap, because the WNBA built its season around one player and then forgot to protect her. That's not just short-sighted, that's catastrophic management. Let's talk fans. The ones filling the seats, the ones buying jerseys, the ones dragging their daughters and sons to the arena to see Caitlin Clark live. What message does it send when those same fans watch their hero get elbowed in the ribs, blindsided on the court, and mocked by the very league that profits off our image? The message is clear. Your loyalty is one-sided. You support us, but we won't stand up for you. Those fans, they're not casuals. They're diehards. They're the reason Clark's games turned into events. And now, they're disengaging. They're refunding tickets. They're deleting the apps and tuning out the broadcasts. This isn't some fringe reaction. It's a coordinated exodus. And if the league doesn't respond soon, it'll be irreversible. In the end, this goes beyond Caitlin Clark. This is about every future superstar who watches how she's been treated and thinks twice before entering this league. It's about every little girl wearing a number 22 jersey who now wonders if being a star in the WNBA is worth the pain, the politics, and the punishment. If the message being sent is, we'll use you for ratings but not protect you when it counts, then what future does the league even have? The next few weeks are critical. Clark's recovery timeline will shape everything, from broadcast deals to ticket sales to public trust. But even more important is what the league does in her absence. Will they implement new safety policies? Will they finally acknowledge the physicality aimed at their biggest draw? Or will they stay silent, cross their fingers, and hope she comes back before the whole system collapses? Because make no mistake, this isn't just a bad stretch. This is a moment of reckoning. The league is staring at crossroads, and whichever path they choose will define the future of women's basketball for decades to come. If they protect Caitlin Clark, if they invest in her, if they rally around her, not as a PR tool but as a generational icon she is, they just might save themselves. But if they stay on this course, well, silence will be the least of their problems. The tragedy? It didn't have to be this way. Clark came into the league humble, grateful, focused. She praised her teammates. She embraced the fans. She avoided drama. And how was she rewarded? By becoming a punching bag, by getting fouled without consequence, by being criticized if she speaks up, and ridiculed if she stays quiet. It's a no-win situation, and it's one the WNBA created. What does this mean for the future? Well, with the collective bargaining agreement, CBA, negotiations looming, the WNBA just lost its best leverage. How can you ask for increased pay and sponsorship dollars when your top product is sidelined, your ratings are down 55%, and fans are tuning out in protest? That's not just bad optics. That's a crisis of identity. One the WNBA may not recover from unless it changes course. Fast. And here's the kicker. Even after all this, the league still hasn't learned its lesson. They continue to allow hard fouls. They continue to downplay targeting. They continue to treat this as business, as usual. But nothing about this is usual. You don't find a generational superstar like Caitlin Clark twice. And if the WNBA doesn't start protecting its stars and cleaning up the mess it's created, this golden era will become a footnote in sports history. So the question now is simple. Will the WNBA finally wake up and act like a professional league? Or will it keep stumbling in the dark, chasing controversy instead of protecting talent? Because the next injury, the next viewership drop, that might not just end Clark's season. It might end the league's shot at mainstream relevance altogether. And if that happens, they'll have no one to blame but themselves.